So we are all in it together, and I just want to first off thank everybody for coming here. It was our honor to host everybody, such distinguished people here. BIM, for me, I feel like I've devoted my life to it the last decade and a half. How we actually achieve this. And again, it's not about the model we've said, it's about the information. So this slide I have here, it's my model blob. We have something. So when we're doing BIM, there's always something that we're designing, there's always something that we're representing, and it's all about what and why. What does the client need? What's going to be analyzed? Where does the data go? How much information? Is it a little bit of information, a lot of information? Why are we modeling this blob, and how are we representing it? I go around CH2M HILL talking about this wheel of BIM. So all of the possible reasons why we could be using BIM, and I always stress, I was going to press a laser pointer, but in case it shuts off, operations and asset management. For me, that's the most important BIM goal. So when we build our BIM execution plans, we use the Penn State industry one as an example, but it's basically talk about all of those. What's the value? Why would you do it? Is it fit for purpose of your project, et cetera? How do you achieve it? What tools are you going to use? What's your outputs? Operations and asset management, that's the first one. That goes right back to the employer's information requirements. What's the driving force from a client's perspective? How are you going to obtain that? And that drives really how you're going to do building information modeling throughout the life cycle of the project. Each one of those have value, but I'll stress to all of our users that if we don't have the asset management piece understood, we've really devalued, in my opinion, the entire process, because that's most important up front and most important upon completion. So then we look at connectivity. So for us, this is our CDE. And for us, it's not just a matter of pulling people together, it's a matter of understanding the information, understanding how you're going to produce it, how you're going to manage all the content, WIP, shared, publish, archive, how does that all come together? How do I make ourselves more profitable, more understanding with respect to the use of BIM? How do I preserve information for long downstream use or for additional use on subsequent projects? And then that delivery. What is the deliverable? Who am I delivering to and why, in what format, what types of data, what types of information, and how do we make that happen? So for us, CH2M HILL, we've struggled, I would say, with respect to our growth. And we essentially had started with pockets of use with various platforms. And BIM, for quite a while, maybe about 10 years ago, was all about one tool versus another tool. And stressing it's not the presentation about, do you speak Revit? No, do you speak BIM, right? It was all about, we do Revit, we do Intergraph, we do Bentley, and how do they all talk? And then other tools would creep their way in. So again, I go back to my blob. It does not matter, in my opinion, where the data is coming from. So we have tools in place that facilitate the creation of content using various tools. For us, we are a tri-platform firm, so we have Intergraph, Autodesk, and Bentley actively occurring anywhere across the globe. How do I pull information based on a common data definition to meet and facilitate the asset data requirements upon delivery to the stakeholders? And for us, this is fundamentally important, where we can actually work share a project traversing any and all platforms listed here and succeed because the backbone of the information is consistent and common. And I'll expand upon that in a bit. So the other interesting thing is we've delineated between building, civil, and plant. So we heard, okay, BIM is not just the architects, BIM is not just the building. So when I look at the tools, some of the tools are more suited towards building BIM versus plant BIM versus civil BIM. And as we analyze these tools, each one of them have a unique modeling program, analytical program, or data exchange, and they all have the ability to potentially interact with each other within the focus areas of building, civil, or plant. And an example there is we have a client who has prescribed the use of Revit for a wastewater treatment plant. So that's pretty intriguing. Revit doesn't account for pipelines and isometric development. It's not a spec-based system. Thus, we are working through how to achieve that through the use of Revit, which is fundamentally a building-based tool. So when it's building modeling, I'll span across the globe and say you can do Bentley, you can do Revit, you can do other IFCs as a possible foundation to pull everything together. We're pretty good. When we're working on plant-based tools, so that would be water, wastewater plants, linear conveyance, piping, etc., we have the ability to, or we've actually done a lot of work on defining the requirements void of the tool. So we built what's called piping spec narratives, and we fed them into our corporate procurement system. From those spec narratives, the system can then feed, whether it's Open Plant, Auto Plant, Smart Plant, CADWorks, etc. So we can take the narrative, feed it to any one of those systems, and thus achieve a common data definition regardless of the tools being used. So now when I step back outside of the platforms, I can look and say, client requires this with respect to valves or with respect to pipes, have a list of required information defined by the EIRs and the data definition, feed that into any one system, globally deploy that across the firm, build a compilation of content, pull it all together, and release that back, all based on common data, common narratives, and achieving the ultimate goal. So then we take our building, civil, and plant, package them around what I call the platform. For us, that's your fundamental CAD, MicroStation, AutoCAD, I'll say other, but we only do those two. And more critical is our common data environment. So for us, it's a global deployment of ProjectWise. Access information anywhere across the globe, real time, whether you're within CH2M HILL or external to CH2M HILL. We have all that built into place. Managing not only the CAD, but also the data definitions of all of the platforms. So we can use ProjectWise to impose on users' machines registry settings, profile settings, Revit control of work sets and element borrowing. We can actually link up to Intergraph Smart Plant 3D and build a relationship to and from the Smart Plant world into ProjectWise and manage any of the Bentley products. So we have that full integration across the three platforms, and then we can not worry about that. So that's globally deployed. It can be tweaked, it can be configured. Then the question of, well, where's the information going? There's almost always an owner's repository of some sort and other repositories. Oh, got cut there. And the question is, how do we get there? So I can export databases from SQL or to SQL. I can get into Access. I can pull content into Excel. I can use information model turnovers, give you the Revit model, the export of the Smart Plant model. I can pull content through industry foundation classes and feed them through if there's compatibility to the building models. I can export our specification narratives out of our procurement system with all the information pulled from the plant models and feed that. There's so many different modes to harness the information from the building, civil, and plant models and turn them over to meet client requirements. So with the remaining time, I just want to chat a bit about this project. This is a wastewater treatment plant that we did in Las Vegas. Completed a couple years ago, started maybe in about the 2008 timeframe. It was a Bentley-based project mandated by the client, and they wanted an iModel turnover. So iModel is Bentley's version of an information model, and it essentially extracts geometry and data from Bentley tools, Revit, or Smart Plant 3D, pulls them into an iModel format, and delivers that. And that's what the client wanted. So we were able to achieve it, and conceptually then we stood back and said, well, why are we doing this? So this is a little graphic that I've used for years where it's helping me to express the concept of an asset of importance. So when we're modeling spaces, modeling buildings, modeling plants, modeling civil infrastructure, not all the assets are important. So when I look at a building, and I'll put my architect hat on for 1 second, the carpet might not be important, but the structural columns may be, or the windows or the doors. So the same here, so we'll look at valves and pumps and pipes, but not everything around those are all important. Once we have the definition, this comes back to the EIRs. Define the asset of importance, define the required information, figure out how to harness that. Is the information in the BIM tool? Is it being authored by the authoring tool? Is it being linked to another system? Is it being associated? How does all that information come together? So with our client, they pushed, well, we want linkages. They knew that the BIM model didn't house everything. They had a robust asset management system. We had to go in and BIM the existing, do a $20 million US add-on, and build linkages to and from the BIM to the asset management system. So step one was we want the turnover to be a deliverable, a sheet of paper interactive with the model. So we've embedded the BIM model into a PDF using, it's an iModel plugin for Adobe, and the client received these PDFs and could drive through views of the model as prescribed. Next, we took the iModels and said, well, tell us what your assets of importance are. So here I'm showing the example. These are 3 pumps. And you'll notice they're all appropriately tagged with the nomenclature to match their existing database. And you see the tag wasn't anything robust, but it was 100% matching. That was the link between the BIM and their asset management system. Then they said, to enhance our operation and maintenance manual, we want to be able to take this pump, click on it, and come to our operational screen. Because the pumps are in one location, and what they're controlling is absolutely somewhere else. So now I'm in the operation, I'm in the computerized maintenance operational screen in the plant itself. I have access to the pump. I see that they're controlling these centrifuges. I can now click on that centrifuge and go to the operations and maintenance manual and see exactly what the pump is controlling. Then from that O&M manual, I once again have the BIM embedded into the manual via the use of this iModel and PDF. I can now move around, drive, and let's say I wanted to hit something else, I can go through that cycle one more time. I'm now in the manual, but inside the BIM, I can click on that additional pump, do it all over again. Where is it being controlled in the operation and maintenance environment? From that screen again, go find it in the O&M manual. So it was all it was a collection of hyperlinks without repetitive data in order to help facilitate navigation through the operational maintenance environment, through utilization of the BIM to understand where they are physically located within the plant and what is controlling what. So it was a pretty phenomenal project, and for us it's one of our examples where we see the use of data, the use of the model, the use of the information spread across an environment, pulled together with the BIM kind of as a navigational hub, which was the requirement here. But for us overall, CH2M HILL, we want to contribute through the development of projects, through the life cycle of a project. Again, it's not about design, it's not just about construction, it's about the entire start to finish. The common data environment and the BIM execution plan are tools that we've globally deployed in order to allow us to achieve BIM globally across the firm, interactively with joint venture partners, regardless of where we sit around the globe. The linkages to asset management systems is being asked for more and more, and we're seeing not just links, that was the initial thing 5 years ago, but now it's link to this content, add these pieces, tell me where I'll find these other pieces, make sure all of that jives together and achieve that through the overall approach. So looking to the future, we're using the CDE to help us explore more data exchange possibilities. So project-wise, we're looking to extend it more so. There's a work packaging concept, some material management capabilities, linkages to our internal procurement system. So for our design build operate projects, that would be a little more powerful for us. Paperless work sites. Our construction arm has said repeatedly that the delivery of drawings to site is such a waste. So we're utilizing Windows tablets and iPads and the ability to hook into our CDE mobily so that all the content is available, presentable, and able to be visualized from anywhere across the globe with a Wi-Fi. Visualization technologies, augmented reality, holographic imagery, etc. All of these types of concepts we're able to push these concepts because we're not worried about, what layer am I putting the wall on? What do I name my file? Where do I put my file? All of those foundational pieces are in place, and we're able to try to look to harness the true power of BIM and mobile delivery and data integration. And in closing, that's the last slide I had. The last comment I want to make is being from Canada, I'm just immensely impressed when I come into an environment like this, where we have the government, the client, and everybody top down focused on BIM, the use of it, the enhancement of it as a mode of delivery, the technological advancements that we could make with respect to the use of BIM, and the ability to connect all of us as an industry, whether we're sole proprieting or joint venturing in order to achieve the goal of a client. I struggle in Canada because it's always bottom up, right? We're looking to try to convince municipalities on the value of BIM and what it could bring to a client. So the advancements in this country is just phenomenal, and I commend you all. Thank you.